Today's Mercedes-Benz interview of the day brought to you by Mercedes-Benz. Celebrate the journeys that bring us closer together. An exclusive offer on a vehicle you'll adore. Mercedes-Benz Holiday Love Celebration going on now through January 2nd. Learn more at MBUSA.com/special offers. He's Greg Olsen, NFL on Fox analyst, and he called the Cowboys-Panthers on Sunday. He'll be doing the Ravens-Texans Christmas Day. That's on Netflix with our good buddy Ian Eagle. Kickoff at 4:30 Eastern. Beyonce, by the way, halftime performer. Greg joins us now. Do you get to meet Beyonce before, after, during?
You know, I think that's a great question. I actually, the last time I was involved in a game that Beyonce was also involved in, I lost the Super Bowl in Santa Clara. She was the halftime show. So I have mixed feelings. Hopefully the result goes better for me this time.
What's it like when there's somebody performing that a lot of people would probably want to go out of the locker room? Did anybody sneak out to see Beyonce perform?
Not to my knowledge, but a couple years ago, when I called the Super Bowl in Arizona, Rihanna was the halftime show. So I mean, the excitement of the crew. So we get ready to go to halftime, and all week we're like, it'll be cool. We'll get to watch Rihanna. We've got the best seat in the house, 50-yard line up in the box. And then like the second to last play or the last series of the second quarter, Mahomes gets rolled up on. He gets his ankle rolled up on. He gets limped in. So the whole halftime now, instead of being able to sit down, catch our breath, watch Rihanna for 5 minutes, we had to scramble and do the whole, oh my gosh, could you imagine if Pat Mahomes doesn't come out for the second half of the Super Bowl? And thankfully he did. So I'm excited to watch Beyonce. I love Beyonce. I think it's going to be fun. I think the entire experience is going to be super cool for everyone that's participating. And I know our crew, Noah and I, are super, super pumped to get together, work together for the first time, and kind of see what happens.
Can you see Mahomes modifying his style? I mean, we've had the ankle injury every year, almost had a severe knee injury as well, but he's not a runner. I call him an opportunist, but can you see him maybe modifying?
I just think at this stage in your career, it is so hard to just change your play style. I think, so much of what makes Mahomes so special and such a generational player is his ability to play off script, right? It's almost the entire underlying of their entire offense is his ability to extend plays, move in the pocket, remain a passer. To your point, he's not necessarily a scrambler in the sense of I'm looking to run with the ball to convert. He will run, he will pick up first downs, but it's his ability to stress the coverage because he just holds on to the ball so long without getting sacked. And I think that's kind of the balance that every team in the league is trying to say. It's one thing to hold the ball, it's one thing to stress the coverage, but as you're stressing coverage, you're also stressing protection. So it's finding that balance. That's what makes Mahomes and Josh Allen and now Jaden Daniels and Lamar and just some of those guys are just such a handful, because even when you defend everything, you still haven't defended everything. So I just don't know if there is any going back. Injury is part of it. Hopefully he dodged a bullet here with the ankle. And, obviously his style of play is just incredible.
We have a poll question. Fritzy, would you give Greg the wording on the poll question?
Which team right now in the NFL is in the worst shape now and going forward in the near future? And we had the Bears, Jaguars, Browns, Texans, Giants. Where are you on that?
Yeah, so I think it's a combination of, what does the current winning culture look like in the building? Are they doing it multiple years in with the same coaching staff and regime? And then where are they in terms of finding their future quarterback, right? So those are all the things you give first-year coaches, you give first-year rookie quarterbacks. Like I see what's going on in Chicago. I think that's an example of, obviously, the season's gone off the rails. Ever since they lost on the Hail Mary to Washington, it feels like things have fallen apart. I think they've lost 8 in a row or whatever. But they've got Caleb Williams. They're going to get a new coach in there and a new staff. They've got good pieces in place. So that should be a pretty popular destination, I would imagine, in this hiring cycle. But then you look at the Giants, and I like Dable. I thought he did an unbelievable job his first year making the playoffs, go on the road to Minnesota. I called that game, and they come out with the upset victory. Since then, it's been a bit of a disaster. And, but then you look there and you say, not only have they had a culture of losing, They let Daniel Jones go. They don't have their future quarterback on the roster, and now they've got to start all over again. So, as much as I hate to say this, because I just love Dable, I love who he is as a guy, as a coach. I think they're pretty far removed from having an ability to win. They're in a really tough division. It doesn't look like Philly's going anywhere. Dallas will bounce back. Washington's obviously the surprise team in the league. They've got a tough division, don't have their quarterback, and they're losing at a historic rate. But
Other than that,
things are good.
how much coaching is done on an NFL level from the head coach as opposed to coaching in college?
I think it's different in every franchise model. So I think you look at the coaches that are also the play callers. You look at a team that's having a ton of success. We saw them last night, on national TV on Monday night play, Chicago with Kevin O'Connell and the Vikings. So you look at what Kevin O'Connell is doing on a week-by-week basis, aside from delivering messaging and addressing the team and putting together the plan and keeping the locker room and culture and vision intact. He's also in the weeds of the game plan, and he's on the sideline, he's charting plays and he's formulating his play call and getting his opening script done. So he's part offensive coordinator, part head coach. That's very challenging, right? That's Andy Reid, that's Kevin O'Connell, that's Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan, of those sense. So those guys are in the weeds coaching on a day-to-day basis, X's and O's and plays. Then there's other coaches where their impact on the team is just as great. They're just not actually the ones on game day calling the plays directly, to the quarterback's headset. But, you look at Dan Campbell, he's not necessarily calling the plays. He's got two very good defense and offensive coordinator, Aaron Glenn, Ben Johnson, maybe two guys that are going to get head coaching opportunities this cycle. But he's involved in every single thing they do. We'll talk to him during the week. We can ask him about the offensive plan, the defensive plan. He knows both sides of the ball like he's actually going to call the plays on Sunday. And then, of course, he handles all the game management and the motivation and the speeches before and after the game. So I think every coach is a little bit different as far as what their role is, but the best coaches are the best communicators. The X's and O's and the plays, that stuff will all take care of itself. The best guys are the best communicators. They deliver the message, they put out fires, and they galvanize a group. And, you look around to the best teams in the league, it's not a coincidence that they also have some of the best leaders, some of the best, messengers. It's a huge part of NFL football.
Talking to Greg Olsen, NFL on Fox. He'll be on the call on Christmas Day. The game is on Netflix. It'll be the Ravens and Texans, kickoff at 4:30 Eastern. Speaking of these two teams, which one's more threatening come playoff time, Ravens or Texans?
Well, it's a good question. I've kind of started diving into them this week just in preparation for next week's game. And, when you start with Baltimore, obviously, we've seen them do it. MVP, Lamar, they add Derrick Henry. I mean, that is a scary group. And I would say when they've played well, you've come out of that game saying that's the best team in the league. And then there's been some other games where you go, okay, like they're good, but can they just put the, pedal down and just dominate somebody? And I think their defense is getting a lot better. I think their defense is much improved. Earlier in the year, they had some ups and downs. They've started to string together some good performances here of late. So I think as long as you have Lamar, I think Harbaugh is a fantastic coach. I think they have a culture and expectation of winning, which again, to your earlier question, is so important in this league. Guys expect to win. They expect to show up and have success, and that's very powerful. And then with Houston, I think what's so unique about them is last year, all the talk was about CJ Stroud, and he busted onto the scene as a rookie, and he was incredible. They win the division in him and DeMeco Ryans' first year, and everyone's saying, oh my God, he's incredible. This year, it's been the defense. I mean, that defense is young. They are good. They can rush the passer, Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson. They've got two really good young corners. Derek Stingley might be the best in the league right now. And then Lassiter, who's the young rookie on the other side. So they're young, they're talented, they can rush the passer, they can dominate at the line of scrimmage. And then the offense is opportunistic. It's, last week they forced 4 turnovers against the Dolphins, and they score 17 of their 20 off of turnovers. So they're making the plays they have to. They're not as dominant offensively as they were, even though I love their skill positions. Their offensive line is the question mark. They struggle up front. They struggle to pass protect, and then everything kind of goes from there. So I think it's a fascinating matchup. On paper, to me, at this stage, it's Lamar and that Ravens offense against this Houston defense led by DeMeco Ryans. Like, that is the matchup, and I think it's going to be awesome.
Level of concern for the Lions is what?
Gosh, you can't help but just feel for them, because 4 or 5 weeks ago, they were the best team in football. And it wasn't just because of the offense. It wasn't just because, Goff's playing at an MVP level and the offensive line has been good there for a long time. And of course, Ben Johnson's the belle of the ball. He's the coach everyone's looking for, and the skill players unlimited. And then on the defensive side, they were so good. Obviously, losing Hutchinson and then losing Anzalone. Aaron Glenn's held it together as long as he could, but you go back to like the top 2 of their roster depth early in the season, I don't think anyone is left. And then, of course, the other night in that awesome game, they lose Aleem McNeil, they lose Carlton Davis, they lose more starters. And then now the word's coming out with Montgomery, the back alongside Gibbs, that he might be now out for the year. So it's unfortunate that this is the way it happens, but we see it all the time. There is an element of luck to NFL runs. There is an element to the teams that stay healthy the longest make their run. But listen, if we've seen anything about Dan Campbell, he's going to alter his approach. He's going to get super aggressive. He's not going to apologize for it. And they're going to have to try to make up for what they're missing on defense. They're all going to have to carry the load, hence why he onside kicked with 10 plus minutes to go in the game. Like, that was not just an arbitrary gut reaction. He understands the deficiencies of the defense. They can't stop anybody. So why is he going to let teams go 85 yards for a touchdown when you just let them go the short way and get the ball back?
I mentioned Josh Allen was like a better throwing Cam Newton when Cam won the MVP. That fair to both of these guys with that comparison?
Yeah, I think it's very fair. I think, when you look at a lot of the things that Josh is doing, it's a very similar play style to how Cam played. I would argue that Cam was maybe used more consistently, especially those first 5 years or so in the run game. I mean, it was quarterback power, it was quarterback run, it was downhill. Like, they use Josh, I think, really smart. Like, the way they activate him as a design quarterback runner, it's red zone, it's short yardage, it's perimeter runs, it's spread QB draw. They do a great job saying, okay, we're not going to just run him into the ground, but when we need him, the ball's going to be in his hands because he's the best player in the league. So I think in that regard, they're both physical, they're strong, they can outrun you, they're powerful, they can protect themselves. I think that's an element that people are starting to see with, yes, the quarterback run is such a weapon. And when you have a guy like Josh Allen and you have a guy like it's silly not to use it. But what guys are finding is over the course of a season, are you able to sustain it? Do you have a guy that is built to take those hits and can be a runner? If your quarterback, every time he's in space to get hit, just gives himself up, and he's not willing to run through contact, you lose the advantage of running your quarterback. And that's where Cam was so unique, is when he got in the open field, they didn't want to tackle him. Cam was at more risk standing in the pocket, getting injured, getting guys at his legs, blindside, than when he was actually on the offensive as a runner. And I would say the same thing about Josh. And then obviously Josh's ability to throw off platform and throw from outside the pocket. And some of those throws he made the other night on the run against Detroit were just, they were just out of this world. So I think he's the MVP. I think I can make an argument for Lamar. I can make an argument for Goff. What Buffalo's doing right now, you could argue they're the best team in the league right now, and he's the best player.
I was amazed when I first met Cam how big he is. Like when you see quarterbacks, like he's probably bigger than you.
Oh yeah, Cam's eye to eye with me, and when we were both playing, we were probably within, I don't know, anywhere between 5 to 10 pounds of each other in any direction at any time. Yeah, Cam could have played defensive end. Cam could have played tight end. Cam could have played outside edge rusher. When you talk about just unique physical specimens that have come through the NFL, Cam Newton's at the top of the list. The first time I ever met him in training camp, I had just gotten traded to Carolina from Chicago, and I walked into the training room and, of course, watched him at Auburn and watched him win the national championship and the Heisman and all that. And then, but again, to your point, when you see him in person, you don't realize just how imposing he really is. And, when I saw him, I was like, whoa. And then obviously he goes out in the field and the way he's able to run, and he was long-legged but powerful and obviously could just rip it. He was a unique physical product. But yeah, just his sheer size was very unique.
Thanks for joining us. Happy holidays to you, and our best to Ian Eagle on Christmas Day on Netflix. It'll be the Ravens and the Texans, 4:30 Eastern. Thank you, Greg.
I appreciate it. Always good to see you.
We'll take a break. Last call for phone calls right after this.